Hello and welcome here to Tokyo CB and welcome back here for another video on the channel, and we are returning today with a topic that a lot of you have asked me about in the comments yesterday when I did make my return to the channel. A lot of people were asking what is going to happen with Philipe Coutinho from Liverpool. Is he going to be on his way to Barcelona? And the most important question here when we're talking about players, particularly players like Coutinho coming from Premier League clubs, they're always going to attract those big transfer fees. So when you're looking at a player like this, you need to look at all the different alternatives. You need to look at the positives and negatives and see if it is worth the big transfer outlay that it would take to bring somebody like Coutinho to Barcelona. And is it worth that? And will he be the right fit to come into this team and make a positive impact? That's what we're going to look at today, and we're going to see whether it is that Coutinho could settle in here. Could he be the man to come to the Camp Nou and make an impact, or should we not really be pursuing him as one of our main targets in the coming transfer windows? Now, a bit of background knowledge on Philipe Coutinho, who certainly rose to promise in the last season or two, particularly this season under Jurgen Klopp. He's been outstanding for Liverpool. They see themselves towards the top of the Premier League table, challenging for the title. Coutinho at the forefront of that. But what Jurgen Klopp has managed to do at Liverpool is mainly get them all playing as one, playing as a team, pressing as a team. Coutinho buys into that. He's a very hard worker. He's good on the ball. He's very good technically. His close control is very good. All things that you'd associate with a Barcelona player. The problem for me with Coutinho, the major problem with Coutinho is the fact that with it at Barca, we've got the 4-3-3 system, which is basically unmoved. We very rarely stray outside of that 4-4-3, 4-3-3 formation. You know, Luis Enrique's gone with it, Tata Martino did as well, Tito, Pep, you go back to Johan Cruyff and the Dream Team, all 4-3-3. So what you've got to do is you've got to buy players who suit the system. There's no doubt that Coutinho has the talents, the ability, the attributes to match a Barcelona player, but in terms of positioning, I'm not personally sure that we've got the position which would accommodate him in the best way. And what I mean by that is, at the moment at Liverpool, Coutinho plays in an attacking position, a number 10 role most of the time. There has been occasions for Liverpool in the recent season where he's gone out to the left-hand side, whether he's played more advanced in a false 9 position, but mostly Coutinho likes to play in that number 10 role where he's got freedom, where he's got space, where he doesn't have a lot of defensive responsibility, and he likes to play in that role, and that is where you get the very best out of him. Because the problem is, when you're paying the kind of fee that Coutinho will cost, you want him to come in and play in the role that is preferred for him, the role that is best for him. Look at when we brought Luis Suarez to the club. Messi at that time was occupying that central role, that false 9 position, but we brought Suarez in for a lot of money, and then he came in and he played as that number 9, that main striker, and Messi moved out to the right. They agreed that amongst themselves with Luis Enrique as well, because we wanted Suarez to be in his preferred position where he can do the most damage. Coutinho, for me, would not be able to play in a midfield 3. I don't think that he could play in that, certainly that midfield 3, under the system of Luis Enrique. You look at Iniesta, he himself, a player as good as he is and as tactically phenomenal as he is, has had to adapt his game to Luis Enrique's system. We know that it's based less on control, more about getting the ball as quickly as possible to the trio up front. Iniesta had to adapt his game from being that sort of all-out attacking midfield player to also adapting to defensive capabilities as well. He had to work on the defensive side of his game, and for me, that is where it's lacking for Coutinho. He wouldn't be able to play in that 3. He wouldn't really be sort of prone to covering Jordi Alba. That wouldn't be something that he was familiar with at all, tracking back, watching the runs of the midfielders. He's not really accustomed to doing that. And then you say, okay, then is he going to go into that front 3 of Messi, Suarez, Neymar? If that's the case, are we buying him to play on the bench? Because let's face it, Messi, Suarez, Neymar, they're not really going anywhere at the moment. All 3 of them very comfortable, very settled, and in the peak of their powers. Why do we need to bring in another player who can possibly play there? You look at squad depth, that's, okay, I accept that. But then you look at the fee that we're going to have to pay for Coutinho. And Spain have been reporting on it this week. Sport and Mundo Deportivo have both been saying about Coutinho. English papers as well have picked up on it. Of course, whenever a player is on good form, the first thing that's mentioned is, is he going to move to Barcelona or Real Madrid? That's what's happening with Coutinho. There's a big link there, of course, because Neymar, they're very close. Coutinho's also been pictured as well with Luis Suarez, of course, came from Liverpool himself. What I would like to say about that, though, is that the transfer fee and the transfer in general is going to be very different to the one that we secured from Luis Suarez. You have to see that the 65 million that we paid for Liverpool for Luis Suarez was a very different figure to that we're going to get for Coutinho. Coutinho is 24 years old, Suarez is 27. And at the time, you have to remember that Suarez, with the scandalous World Cup, he bitten Chiellini, he was facing a FIFA ban. Some Liverpool fans were turning against him. Of course, they later went on to regret that, but they were turning against him. They were getting fed up with the antics. Liverpool themselves were quite open to selling. And when we came in, we took a risk on our part. We paid the 65 million, which right now is a sensational deal. We got an absolute bargain. But at the time, it was a bit of a risk. And that's why we got Suarez for a bit of a lower fee. Because let's face it, when we bought Suarez, he was a player who just became top goal scorer in the Premier League. He was outstanding. He was in the prime of his career. He was a really top player. Coutinho, I feel, is not quite at that level yet. He's no doubt showing promise. He's no doubt started the season fantastically well. But would you say he's in the world-class bracket? I think he's got some way to go towards that, simply because consistency. That's what it's about in modern football, showing that week in, week out, consistently, season upon season. He's had some very, very good matches. He's had some very, very good games in his Liverpool career. But yet am I to see that solid consistency that you would then say that's a world-class player. And that is why I believe the fee that could be 70, 80, 90 million. Because the thing is, Liverpool don't want to sell Coutinho. This is different to Suarez. They wanted to let go of Suarez if the right offer came in. They don't want to lose their key man in Coutinho. They're building a team around him. They've got something special there now in terms of Jurgen Klopp building a team and really building a club with the fans united. They don't want to sell their star man. And the problem I feel as well lies with Coutinho himself. There's a story that came out from Coutinho's old youth coach, his idol actually when he was growing up at Vasco da Gama, Rodney Goncalves, who's a Brazilian himself. And he's actually come out this week and said that he doesn't actually think that Coutinho wants to leave Liverpool at all. He said that Coutinho wants to go on and win the Champions League with Liverpool. He wants to stay there, become a cult figure, wants to become a legend with their supporters. So whether the actual urge is there from Coutinho to go and leave the club and join Barcelona, Real Madrid, one of the heavyweights in world football, I'm not so sure. With Suarez, it was very different. Suarez always wanted to join Barcelona. He always wanted to come to La Liga, win trophies, compete in the Champions League. This time with Coutinho, I see it a little bit differently. I see that Coutinho is quite happy where he is. He's 24 years old. He's still got a number of years left in him to go and challenge if he wants to later on in his career. I think right now he's not really in any hurry to go and rush off to a different country, to a different league. He's quite happy where he is. I think he feels that he's playing well under Jurgen Klopp. And simply because of the transfer fee and where exactly we play Coutinho in our side at the moment, I would say that he isn't quite worth the massive transfer fee and the risk to go and sign him and put all our eggs in one basket right now next summer. I don't think we need to go and take that risk. I think Coutinho is settled enough at Liverpool as it is. I don't think this is a player that we should be pursuing. Now, a lot of people will come at me now and they'll say, look, Coutinho is a fantastic player. You know, you've seen some of his goals. I've got no doubt at all that he's a very, very promising player, a very, very talented player. But one thing as well I would look at is the way that Coutinho scores a lot of his goals. It's absolutely magnificent in the way that he does it, but a lot of them are from long range. A lot of them are long distance strikes from outside the area, something a little bit different, and the way that he does it and the technique that he shows is absolutely outstanding, unmatched really in the way that he strikes the ball. But the problem is, in Barcelona, how often do you actually see players take on that shot from long distance? Now, it's not because they can't do it, because somebody like Ivan Rakitic is a specialist from long range. It's simply because the style and the way and the build-up and the way that we play, it doesn't really allow you to do that. It doesn't really allow you to have that space to take on those shots from long distance. A lot of the time, teams are deep. They're sitting very, very deep. They're playing narrow. They're blocking off those spaces. There's very, very crowded areas in and around the penalty area. So those shots from long range aren't always on. Coutinho, in the role he has at Liverpool, in that number 10 role, in between the lines, he's getting that space to get the ball and have a go from long distance. I'm not really sure he's having as many opportunities in Barca to do that. And of course, when players come here as well, they're almost a little bit afraid to do that, simply because Messi's asking for the ball, Suarez is asking for the ball, Neymar is asking for the ball. Do you really want to ignore those calls and go for goal yourself? A little bit selfish if it doesn't come off, a little bit frowned upon if it doesn't come off. So you need that really character to come here and take that on. And I just don't think Coutinho right now in his career is looking for that move. So leave your thoughts down below, guys, because like always, I'm very, very interested to hear what you've got to say. I know a lot of people were excited about Coutinho, but like I say, that transfer fee is going to be very, very high, much higher than what we paid for Suarez, simply because Liverpool don't need to nor want to sell. And I'm not sure Coutinho is absolutely driving the move himself either. He's quite settled where he is. We've got a team right now which is quite balanced. We've got quality in our in our forward areas. We've got quality in our midfield. Iniesta, of course, is aging. We've got players like Andre Gomez, Denis Suarez, who we've just signed, who I think we need to give some time to, need to give some support to, and we can see where that goes in the future. This may be one for a few years down the line, but in terms of next summer, I don't personally think Coutinho is somebody that we need to target and spend most of our budget on. So leave your thoughts down below, guys. I'm very, very excited to hear what you guys think. I'll be looking to respond to those, many of those as I can. Thanks as always, guys. Great support yesterday when I made the comeback video. Really, really appreciate all the comments. I'll be back soon for another video. Anything you'd like to see, please do let me know down below, like you do with this video, and here it is. So see you very, very soon, guys. But until then, as always, Vesca El Barça!